I wanted to make a video on how to make reduced recoil ammunition. I think there's kind of a lot of confusion around the subject. Um, Pretty much the short of it is you need to use a fast powder with a heavy bullet. And that's going to give you what might feel like reduced ammo, but really you're probably making the same power factor as any other ammo in a lighter bullet. Um, And if you need to make more velocity in a gun, say for hunting, or if you're just chasing velocity, you need to use a slower burning powder. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hear all the time on YouTube from gun reviewers that say, certain modern ammunition uh, is bringing life to older calibers like the 9mm and bringing back its popularity because of modern, faster burning propellants, new propellants that burn faster. And that's just complete BS. Most of the defensive stuff is going to use a slower burning powder. You can gain so much more velocity in a slower burning powder than you can a faster burning powder using the same bullet weight. Um, I load a lot of Magnum rounds for revolver 357 and 44, and I've tried some of the fastest burning powder available for both of those cartridges and the slowest, and you're talking several hundred feet per second difference when you load the slower burning powder. So huge pet peeve of mine. Can't stand it when I hear it, and I hear it all the time. So in competition, I am loading a 147 grain blue bullet flat point with 4 grains of CFE pistol. And it's given me a pretty consistent 130 power factor. The minimum floor is 125 for my class, which is carry optics, and I'm shooting minor. But if you want to compare the 115 grain bullet to the 147 or 124 grain bullet, I think you'll notice on almost any weapons platform, if you shoot the 115, you'll have a lot more snap, and maybe not perceived recoil, say, but the guns are going to be a little more of a handful in your hands. It's going to be a lot snappier than if you're shooting a 124. I really prefer the 147s. I've been shooting them for 3 years now, and I'm not going back anytime soon. And I think a lot of that's due to slide velocity. If you are comparing the 115 to the 147, you're going to have a lot higher slide velocities in the 115. Your bullets are going several hundred feet per second faster than the 147s, typically, depending on how you have them loaded, especially if you're loading equal power factor in both. If you're loading a 115 grain to 130 and a 147 grain to 130, you're going to have several hundred feet per second different, probably like 150 to 200 feet per second different in the 115 grain. And that slide's going to be going back faster, and you're going to feel it. And it's going to just feel snappy. So choosing the correct powder is critical in this, and you might be asking yourself, well, why are you using CFE pistol? That's a newer, slower burning powder. Even with some of the slower burning powders, you can still make a really fine load that's very comfortable to shoot, especially quickly, like in competition. And this is my main competition load. I'm just using the CFE pistol. It's a wonderful pistol or powder. I have a ton of it, so I kind of want to burn through it before I switch to a faster burning powder, which I think I will do in the future. But if we look at some of the loads here, so my CFE pistol, I'm loading 4 grains, but this shows a max of 4.2. You can see if you look at some of the faster burning powders like the 700X, the Tight Group, the Universal Auto Comp, 244, 231, HB38, those are all faster burning powders than the CFE pistol is. And those would be great powders to load in a reduced recoil load if you're trying to make one up right now. essentially, you just need to get out and try it. I really am a believer in it now. This is my competition Glock 19. Been using it for years. Awesome gun. But I also had some correspondence with a gentleman named Guy Neal. He's a writer for the USPSA magazine. He writes the reloading column. And quite a while ago, I had written to him because I thought using a slower burning powder with a heavier bullet would produce less felt recoil than a faster burning powder just because of the burn rate. He corrected me. He essentially told me that using less propellant to deliver the same velocity will essentially equate to less felt recoil, and what I believe is slower slide velocities there. And after he told me that, I went out and tested it briefly, and I did find that to be 100% correct. You do notice a difference. Talk about reliability. This is a totally stock gun for the most part, with the exception of a few trigger components. But the recoil spring is the same. Firing the striker spring is the same. It's all factory Glock parts in it, essentially. And these have run 100% reliable. I've shot 3,000 rounds of the blue bullets with the flat point, and I've shot another 2,000 rounds of the 147 grain round nose berries bullets. They are excellent as well. But kind of wanted to make this video just to help anybody out there that, for whatever reason, just wants to shoot reduced recoil ammunition. And this isn't even really reduced recoil ammunition. It's just softer shooting ammunition that delivers the same performance as essentially 115 grain does. And this is applicable to other calibers as well. So yeah, get out there and try it. Hope to see you at a match soon.